are listening to the Space-Tastic Mysteries podcast. We are in week 22 of Anna Gale Line's latest novel, The Lightyears, involving a mobile Alliance surgical hospital battling an epidemic at the front lines of the Freedom Alliance Crimson Fleet War. This is episode 22, Where Did It Go? If you have not subscribed, do so now, and if you are on YouTube, hit the bell to be notified of new episodes.
I pulled my knees up and kicked her with my feet, throwing her against the wall. I stood, trained my gun on her and said with grave deliberation, "I am having trouble deciding whether to take you out or let you suffer behind bars." I saw a guy come behind me and try to overtake me. I brought up my leg and kicked him. I shot her leg and then swung around and shot the man behind me in the arm. Both screamed in pain as Drew helped us battle the others for a few minutes before security entered the room. Several security officers cuffed those we shot, and others helped us overtake those who jumped onto us from above. After a few minutes, the security officers were escorting the people out of the room. "We will get you," Jake's mother screamed as they led her away. I advised the security personnel, "I want complete physical and mental workups on them." Then I went back to helping Drew and Jake compound the cure. "Are you two okay?" Drew asked us. We nodded and continued to focus on the project in front of us. A few hours later, we split up, going room to inject the affected with the cure. So far everyone we gave it to responded positively, just like my research indicated. Just as I entered my last room, my engineering chief announced over my CommLet, "All the bombs are now dismantled thanks to Rachel Thomas. I have the computer system sweeping every 5 minutes for any bombs or bomb-making materials or any gaseous substances. Security still has their bomb-sniffing dogs moving through every level. Very good. Please keep it up because these people will not give up without more of a fight. And we have almost distributed the cure to all those affected with the epidemic that are aboard." Then the hairs on the back of my arms stood. "Helm," I called over my CommLet, "take the Lightyears as far away from Kilo-Ait as you can." I don't know why. My instincts are screaming to do it. "Affirmative," came the answer. I felt the vessel move underneath me. Jake moved into the room. "What do you think is going to happen?" "I don't know, but my instincts are screaming. It is not far-fetched to think they have a backup plan. I am concerned that they have more surprises for us." He nodded. "Unfortunately, I suspect you are correct." He rolled up my arm and said, "It is your turn to take the cure." I offered him my arm, watching him inject me with a syringe. I didn't feel any different, but I reminded myself what I told everyone else: it will take some time to start working. As you have told all the other people who were injected today, you need to stay put for the next 15 minutes to determine if you are going to have any reaction. Just then I felt the Lightyears being pushed. Jake and I exchanged a troubled look before my helmsman called over my CommLet, "Kilo-Ait exploded." I don't know how you cause an entire planet to explode, but it did, and we got caught in the backdraft. We are light years off course. I will correct course and, Colonel, the planet disappeared. Our helm is not even reading that it ever existed. Jake and I exchanged another troubled look. "Helm, I want to take an alternative route back to where we should be." "Science, I want you to figure out what happened to that planet." When everyone on board who had the epidemic received the cure, and the other vessels who had cases were given instructions on how to compound it, Jake and I headed to the science department to be briefed on what happened to Kilo-Ait. My science chief, Major Chancellor, an older gentleman who had worked with me many times before, confessed, "I don't know what happened to it. It could have been done on purpose to self-destruct the planet. But how do you cause an entire planet to blow up? It would take a lot of explosives." He took a deep breath and turned to see us. I suspect it was a star-going supernova too close to their atmosphere. At which point, I wondered, eyeing Jake, if that is what happened, did the inhabitants know about it? Is that why they were evacuating? He shrugged his shoulders. "See, Major Chancellor, if you can see if the computer system's cameras caught any of the supernova. If we can prove that is what happened." I tilted my head and wondered, is it possible for it to just be hiding? Like they have somehow cloaked the planet? See what you can figure out. Then Jake and I walked toward the doors. Once outside, Jake questioned, "Which do you think it was?" "The supernova," and I suspect they knew it was coming, and decided to take out all the humans while moving the original inhabitants to another planet, but that is only a theory at this moment. What about my mother? And your parents? Do you think they died on that planet? Those poser parents of mine said my parents are already dead, that they killed them. How does that make you feel? Jake wondered, moving closer to me. For the last 8 years, you thought these people who wanted to kill us were your parents, your biological parents. You thought you were going on a mission to save them when it appears they were luring you in to kill you and all humans they encountered. I am not close to them. I am not surprised by their actions, and I think if we were to read the information on that chip that I probably knew. I am curious though if my siblings are biologically my siblings. Adam was. I did the DNA analysis myself. I had been through too many rabbit holes for me to really accept that these were really my parents. I looked at Jake and questioned, what do you think happened to the planet? And how are you feeling that your mother could be dead on that planet? I don't really know, but isn't it possible they figured out some way to cloak the planet? They have had the best scientific and medical minds in that think tank to garner ideas from. What do you think? You make a good point, but I think we have to wait until we find out what our science team determines before we figure out how to proceed. Just then, as if on cue, my science chief asked, "Can you come to the science lab?" We headed to the science section and went in search of our science chief. He leaned over his station as we approached. He called up a picture of the space where Kilo-Ait used to be. He enlarged the image and concluded, based on this signature, it is clear they were in the atmosphere of a star that went supernova, which caused them to be destroyed. Whether they knew, I don't know. I supplied, running my fingers through my hair. I suspect they did. And that is why they evacuated soon before. Whether they were able to evacuate everyone, I do not know. I don't know, but I do think that we need to continue what we are doing. Just then the lights flashed and alarms blared indicating we had incoming wounded. Jake and I rushed to the nearest travel tram and took it to the hospital. We navigated our way to the hangar doors as the spacecrafts lined up to move the wounded into the hospital. As the wounded were brought in, it was clear where these people came from. They were not Freedom Alliance officers. These were people from Kilo-Ait. Some who looked thin, sallow in the face. Burns on their faces and arms. Their clothes, torn. They had an obvious smell that offended my nostrils. The nurses triaged them while we scrubbed up and assigned them doctors and operating rooms. I assessed my first patient. A man in his late 70s with salt and pepper hair, reaching the end of his neck. He had a square jaw, long, broad nose and the most tantalizing blue eyes that looked like sun hitting water. The man looked up at me and put his hand on my cheek. "My Donnie, you cannot operate on me. I am your father." He saw me glance away from him before he said with grave deliberation, "I know you have been through a lot of people telling you that, but I am your father. Check my DNA." He tried to sit up and look around, craning his head. "Your mother is in here somewhere as well. We saw Peter and Brianna before everything happened." "Okay." I called out to the group of doctors, "Focus, everyone. This is going to sound like a weird request, but I want you to compare every patient's DNA with mine." Jake gave me a quizzical look. I have no time to explain it. I did the DNA test on the man on the gurney. It took a moment for the word match to appear on the screen. I need to exchange patients with someone, and I am suspecting there are 3 others that match me. When we located them, we played musical patients. Once I received my new patient, I looked down to assess the injuries. Lacerations, burns, internal damage. I moved the gurney into the operating room and helped the orderlies transfer him to the table. I connected my bionic arm and cut open the patient to get a closer look at what damage needed to be repaired. Hours later, perspiration on my brow. I closed up the final patient I'd repaired. I walked out of the operating room, discarding my surgical gear, and moved toward the post-operation area, glancing at the Diane monitor hooked up to each patient. When I saw everyone was doing well, I leaned my shoulder against the wall at the far end of the room and sighed. "Donnie," the man who said he was my father called over to me. I moved through the beds to the end of his. "I want to explain. Just rest and we can talk later," I suggested, noticing how worn out he looked. I saw his facial features fall, so I turned the corner and sat on his bed. "How can I help? It is how I can help you. I am sure that you have wondered what happened, why you ended up in foster care. I shrugged my shoulders and returned, frankly, I did, yes, but I am tired. Tired of looking for my long-lost family who never wanted me. Is that what you thought? That we didn't want you? We did want you. It is just that we were captured soon after your birth. We were trying to get away from them when they captured you. We didn't know what happened to you. I swear we didn't. We found out later. I narrowed my eyes and said with grave deliberation, you have to see this from my point of view. I have had many set of parents trying to convince me that I was their daughter. Some whose DNA matched mine like yours. I will have your lab do the DNA and fingerprint analysis by hand, he suggested, putting his hand on mine. But before you do, I have urgent information for you. We need to get to the lab before they destroy it. I shook my head and said with grave deliberation, Kilo-Ait was destroyed. Not that lab, the one on Sierra 1. They already knew the planet was going to go supernova. He nodded. That was the real purpose of the think tank, to figure out how to prevent the planet from going supernova. And they intended to kill everyone who told them it could not be stopped. They believed that the planet going supernova was due to the humans inhabiting the planet. Thus they decided to devise a plan to take out as many humans as possible. I folded my arms across my chest. That planet would have gone supernova even if humans did not inhabit the planet. You know that, I know that, many of those island committee members know that, but still, they put us through all this, for their lack of knowledge, their sense of misguided justice. I looked at him and wondered, have you been on the planet this entire time? We were taken captive after you were born. We raised Adam, Brianna and Peter on the planet. The reason we were not killed was because we were the people who discovered the supernova and were their experts on the phenomenon. He put up his hand and expressed, you don't have to believe I am your biological father, but it is urgent that we get to Sierra 1 before they destroy evidence. I have people on the planet that I can contact. All you have to do is tell us where the lab is. We have to go. It is imperative that we go because we will know what we are looking for to save the people on Sierra 1. I tilted my head to the side and studied him. You have to understand that I am standing here wondering why you want me to go to the planet. What fate is awaiting me there? I am wondering if it is a trap. I get it. From your point of view, it would sound like a trap, but please trust me. You can get all the DNA tests and fingerprint analysis you need to know who I am after the fact, but those people are going to die on that planet because they are going to destroy it too. How can you be so sure? It is part of their contingency plan if Kilo-Ait was destroyed. They would move to Sierra 1 and destroy all life there, so they can be the sole inhabitants of the planet. They have been studying the inhabitants of Sierra 1 and that disease has already been unleashed on them. We have to save them.
If you would like to learn more about Anna Gale or to purchase her fiction and nonfiction books, go to AnnaGaleLines.com. That is AnnaGaleLines.com. Right now you can buy 3 ebooks and get the 4th one free. There you can sign up for the newsletter to keep up to date on what is happening in the world of the Anna Gale Lines podcast, where she inspires people to take control of their lives, and her science fiction podcast, the Space-Tastic Mysteries podcast. To follow her on social media, it is Anna Gale Lines on Twitter, Lady Anna Gale on TikTok, Anna Gale Lines Artist on Instagram, at the Anna Gale Lines podcast on YouTube. You can join the Facebook page at Author Anna Gale. Thank you for listening and thank you for being you.